You can have an amazing client experience just by having kick-ass boundaries in place and by offering a really amazing service, okay? You don't have to have no boundaries in order for your client to be happy. Hello, how are you? If you are new here, my name is Holly, aka That Brand Bitch, and I am so happy that you're here. If you're not new, hello, I love you. Thank you for coming back. I'm just so freaking excited, and I'm not gonna have a super long intro because I'm just super excited to start talking about this. And today we're gonna be chatting a bit about people pleasing. Ugh, I know. We all do it at some point, and I think some of us are a little bit worse at it than others, myself included in that 100%. And I feel like it is just something that you kind of grow up doing. And if you don't have that active effort and everyday practice to stop doing this, you will just continue to people please your way into feeling so lost and stuck in your life forever. I feel like it is just such a cycle that you can get stuck in. So I think it's really important to start raising these conversations and start digging into it, especially as a business owner. So as a business owner, I've talked about it before on my Instagram, and I think on the first podcast episode, I actually mentioned it as well, that when you start a business, you know that it essentially just opens you up to dig deep and uncover all the shit that you haven't dealt with yet. All the people-pleasing tendencies and the need for external validation and maybe insecurities and uncertainties about yourself and your passion and your life and all the things, okay? I don't need to tell you twice. You already know this because if you have a business, you have 100% gone through that exact same feeling in one way or another. And it's difficult, and we're kind of all in this together. So I'm so glad that you're here. I'm happy to start talking about this, and let's just get into it. So today, I'm kind of giving you a little bit of a people pleaser's guide to setting boundaries in your business without feeling too much like an asshole, right? Because if you have been a quote unquote people pleaser for some time now, maybe your whole life, yeah, you're going to feel like an asshole when you start setting boundaries. And that's just the reality of it, because it is so uncomfortable when you first start doing it that you're going to feel shocked. It's going to be a shock to the nervous system. You are not going to be comfy with doing this, and you're probably going to feel like an asshole. So that is just the reality of it. But today I want to talk about setting boundaries without feeling like too much of an asshole, because the asshole part maybe is a little bit unavoidable. But you're not an ass for setting boundaries. Let's just move past that. Okay. Essentially, people pleasing in my eyes is really that feeling that other people's needs, values, desires, lives, whatever it is, are more valuable and important than your own. Essentially, you are putting other people in front of yourself. And growing up, I feel like a lot of the time, especially as a woman, we are told that that's how it's supposed to be. You do things for other people before yourself. You take care of them before you take care of you. You come last. You're supposed to be a good girl and do as you're told. It's not about filling your cup first. It's about making sure everyone else around you is happy, no matter what that means for you. So I think that that's where a lot of people pleasing comes from, is that notion that we're taught growing up. And it's kind of a shitty feeling once you grow up and then you're like, why aren't my needs being met? I'm giving to everyone else, but what about me? And essentially, people pleasing to me is also this feeling that making other people happy or other people like me is way more important than getting what I want, what I need, the things that would make me happy. And it's kind of this feeling that keeping the peace is more important than me living the life that I really want for myself. And I find that a lot growing up this way and having this predisposition for this, if you will. Keeping the peace was like the ultimate goal. Even if it's not really what you wanted to do or what you would prefer, what your opinion was, or what your value was, let's just hold that back. Maybe we'll minimize that a little bit. We'll just shut our mouths a bit and just go with the flow. And then we keep doing that. And then we're like surprised when we don't have the things that we want or when we feel kind of like shit. I never really reflected on my people-pleasing tendencies until I kind of felt like I was being walked all over in my own business. And then I thought, why is that? I'm the one who's supposed to be calling the shots here. I started this business so I didn't have to listen to anyone tell me what to do. And yet I'm letting other people run my life, essentially. I'm letting them dictate how I run my business, how I feel in my business and in my life. That's not okay with me. So if you feel like that, I definitely was there and I probably will be there again in the future. This is not just like a quick fix. It takes everyday practice, but that's why it's important to just start talking about it. So there have been some big indicators that come up consistently when I feel like I'm lacking boundaries or when I'm people pleasing too much in a certain area of my life. I'm going to go over a couple of the big indicators that I find come up when I'm lacking those boundaries and when I'm people pleasing a lot, because I feel like a lot of them will be relatable to you as well, and we can work through these together. Okay. The first thing that comes up is me feeling like I'm being controlled. The things that I have to do feel like haves or shoulds instead of wants. So this kind of feeling of feeling controlled, it feels like other people are dictating how I spend my time. And it honestly feels like nothing I do is for me, but it's always for somebody else. That is a huge indicator that I'm lacking some sort of boundaries. I'm holding something back from the people in my life or in my business, and I'm people pleasing way too much. And mind you, this isn't always other people's fault. It is likely on the person who's actually being the people pleaser, aka me, because I'm maybe not even sharing what I want or need. I'm allowing people to control me. And that's the T. Okay, let's move on. Another big thing that comes up when I'm lacking these boundaries, when I'm people pleasing too much, is feeling resentful because I never have my needs met. And I say never in quotes because nothing's ever 100% of the time, but that's kind of like the feeling or thought that comes up in my brain is I never get what I want. I never get my needs met. And this is kind of catastrophic thinking, all encompassing and feels very overwhelming. And this feeling comes up because I feel like I'm doing for other people, but I'm not necessarily getting that love back. I'm not necessarily getting that effort back. And essentially this really comes up because I'm not even telling them what I need, whether that's in my business, in my life, like personal life, whatever. If you don't state what it is you need, people don't have a freaking clue. I mean, beyond like very basic things, people don't know. They're not mind readers. I think we forget that because something that's so important to us and that can essentially dictate the way that we go and live our lives or view the world can be so different from somebody else's things that they value. This might be a no-brainer to us, but totally something new and a different perspective for somebody else. So we assume that everyone knows what we know, but that is sadly mistaken. And I feel like we end up becoming resentful because of that assumption. Then we feel like we never have our needs met because we never actually express them and we expect other people to know them. Something else is I start feeling quite disconnected from who I am at my core. This is a really big feeling, and it's something that comes up for me when I'm in periods of transition, but especially when I'm lacking those boundaries without truly standing up for what I want or making choices for myself and letting other people choose for me. I literally start to question everything. I'll feel like I don't even know who I am. Who am I? That's a big question. Who are you? What's that sound? Wait a minute. Who are you? You know that kid? I really hope you do. Okay. But seriously, if you're always going with the flow, you're being the chill girl, you never stand up for what you want and you just fall into what other people like. Music, movies, hobbies, interests, values. You just start holding on to other people's things. And then you don't even have the time or you don't give yourself the chance to even explore what you like. This is what comes up. You just feel disconnected and then you're like, what the heck do I even like? What do I want? Why am I letting other people tell me what's right or wrong? How about I decide that for myself? That's a big question. That is a big feeling. And all of these are really big feelings, and they definitely come up when you are not setting those boundaries, when you're not sticking to your boundaries and really standing by them firm. And really this all happens as I was reflecting on this. All of this for me comes down to because I try to be the cool girl. I go with the flow. I'm good with whatever. That's kind of how I grew up being. And that's maybe not necessarily me all the time. Yeah, I'm a very relaxed and open person, although maybe it's not the best thing to do to be the cool girl or the go with the flow, or I don't care all the time. Because you know what? I do have preferences. I do have things I want, need, desire, love, dislike, all the things. And if you're always being the cool girl and going with the flow, you never state your boundaries. You don't stand up for what you want, and you end up letting people walk all over you. And that all comes down to wanting connection. You want that validation of somebody liking you or being cool or being good or being liked overall. And that's something that I have felt like when I reflect on this, that's kind of why maybe I do it. I've seen other people growing up doing the same thing. And when you grow up seeing that, it's hard not to take that on for yourself as well. If you grew up seeing women everywhere around you, all over the people you look up to doing this, you're going to take that on as a child. So this is what takes this conscious effort as an adult now to change the narrative for yourself, for other people around you, for maybe your children or your peers or your friends or your siblings, whoever else, to let them know that it is possible to break that cycle. And wanting connection and somebody to like you or want to be good isn't a bad thing. But when it's at the expense of your own wants, that is not good. Being chained to what everyone else wants or what everyone else thinks of you is not a good feeling. And those are indicators that it's gone on too long. That controlled feeling, the feeling like no one understands you or that you're disconnected from who you are. All those things are such big signs that it's time to wake the heck up and stop doing this shit. Cut it out. Okay. I'm talking to myself as well. Okay. If I'm ever pointing fingers at you, I'm always pointing them back at myself because that's the only reason why I have thoughts about this is because it's from my own personal experience. I know that there's some value in that because I'm sure that you have been there. We're all doing it. So when I try to be this cool girl, this go with the flow, I never have my needs met. And then I move farther and farther away from who I really am and who I actually desire to be, which is not what I want for myself. It's not what I want for me in my personal life, and it's not what I want for me in my business. Because hell no, you did not start your business to be walked all over. You would have just stayed in your corporate job, or you would have stayed working for a shitty boss or whoever it was if you wanted to be walked all over. If you wanted to be told what to do all the time with your time and with your money, with your choices, with your life, you would have just stayed where you were. But no, you chose to start your own business. You chose to create your own path. So good for you for doing that. I applaud you because it is freaking hard. And yeah, so this is why it's important to keep the conversation going. Keep this momentum going. Yeah, you chose yourself. Hell yeah. Let's keep choosing ourselves every single freaking day. Okay. I want to chat a little bit about boundaries in the sense of business. Boundaries are essential in creating balance and flow in your business and in actually creating a happy client. Having happy clients without sacrificing your sanity. You can have an amazing client experience just by having kick-ass boundaries in place and by offering a really amazing service, okay? You don't have to have no boundaries in order for your client to be happy. So do not think that that is so untrue. And I think we should move away from that because whoever said the customer is always right, that's kind of wrong. They hired you for your expertise. So you technically know what it is that you can help them with and how they're going to best get to that end result. So you need to have firm boundaries and processes and layouts to whatever it is that you're offering because that's how they're going to leave the happiest they can be. Even if it's not what they maybe came to you intending or intending to get or looking for, or what they maybe thought they needed. You are the expert here, so you kind of get to call the shots on that. Don't let people boss you around just because they've hired you, okay? Let's move on. I'm going to chat a little bit about how you can deal with setting boundaries and even determining what maybe they might be in your business without feeling like an asshole, because it's probably going to be a shock to the nervous system at first, but you don't have to feel like a complete asshole in order to set boundaries. It can feel pretty liberating. The first thing that I do in order to reflect on what kind of boundaries I might need to set in my business is thinking about my past clients. And when I say my past clients, I mean my past nightmare clients, okay? You know the ones, the really shitty clients that you're just like praying to the Lord they don't come back to you again. I mean, yeah, they gave you the check. It's all wrapped up. Thank goodness it's over. But you're like, please don't come back. I appreciate it, but please stay far away. Think about those people, because I know that if you've been in your business for even just a little bit of time, you've probably dealt with some pretty shitty clients. And when I say shitty clients, I don't mean shitty people. There's a perfect client for everyone, and your shittiest client might be like a dream client for someone else. So no judgment here. But think about your shitty clients. What made you hate working with them? Did they pay you late every single time? Did they take a week to reply to a super important email? Did they reschedule calls like 5 times in a row? Like, what is it that they did that made you want to rip your hair out? Okay, what was it? So reflect on these really shitty experiences and take them as a lesson learned. Yeah, it was shitty at the time. You felt like you were going to freaking explode. Okay, we've moved on from it and add it to the contract. Okay? I swear to you, my entire contract is essentially based on my past shitty clients. Every shitty experience that I've had with a past client essentially has just added something to my contract. So I take that as a win. You can always learn something from this. Cut your losses and let's take that as a win, because if they didn't pay you on time every time, oh, boom, added that to the contract. You need to pay by this time or you get a late fee. What can you do here and add it to the contract? Why did you hate working with them? Add it on. Okay. So that kind of like goes into the next point that I want to talk about is, what do you really want your life and your business to look and feel like? And really reflect on that. Like, how do you want to spend your days? What kind of life do you want to lead? And what kind of practices or boundaries or systems can help you actually achieve that? What kind of rules and standards and all that stuff can you set for yourself and for others? That kind of adds to my point there with the contract, or even how you lay out your services. Say you want to spend a lot of quality time with your family at night. You really want to be able to cook dinner with your family. You know, that's really important to you. You just love it. It lights you up. If that's something that's super important to you and what you want your life to look like, why are you answering client emails at 9 p.m.? Or why are you allowing clients to tell you that they want to have a call at 5:30 p.m. on a Wednesday? Why are you texting your clients with your personal phone on a Saturday night when you should be spending time with your family and friends? Because it's so important to you. Oh, did I call you out? Me too. Don't worry about it. I've done it and I've been there. But this is where you start to reflect on what it is that you really want for yourself, for your life, for your business. And that gives you the clarity as to what can you do to actually make that a reality? Because a lot of the time, these things aren't really that difficult to do. It just maybe takes some balls to actually put them into place. If you, like I said, you don't want to be having calls at night, you really want to spend time with your family at dinner and beyond for the rest of the night, set up firm schedules for yourself. You do not allow client calls after 4 p.m. or whatever time it is. You do not give out your personal phone number to your clients. You communicate via Voxer chat or whatever it is, and you turn that off at a certain time. There are boundaries you can set for yourself, although it may be hard because you're the only one in your business and it feels kind of icky to say no. It is time for you to make the choices that are going to get you closer to your dream life, to your dream business. You get to call the shots. You're the one who makes the decisions here, okay? Something I also want to talk about is setting boundaries with clients who won't take the hint. You're kind of letting them know what you're expecting of them, but then they're kind of giving some pushback, Or maybe they're just like really not understanding what you're saying and you're like, oh my gosh, do I have to spell it out for you? Okay. You're like, I don't want to be an asshole here, but you're being annoying. The key to really setting these boundaries and stating what it is that you actually need with the people who maybe aren't taking a hint is being super firm and unapologetic about it. Walk through this with me, okay? You first got to state whatever it is that you need, very firm and no sugarcoating it. Just say what it is you need. Say that is responding to emails within a certain time. Say your client is taking like 4 days to reply to your emails and they're super important. You need this information in order to get started, or maybe you need this information to make progress in some sort of area or to get clarity on something that you've been trying to work on, and it's making this project get pushed back, or maybe it's just causing you a lot of inner turmoil and it's pissing you off, frankly. You need to be firm and state what it is you need. I need you to reply to my emails in 24 hours, period. And a lot of the time it is nice to kind of give an explanation as to why. I mean, you don't have to, but if this is like their first offense, this is just the beginning. Maybe they honestly just don't know what this boundary is, because why would they know if you haven't told them? Then it is nice to kind of state why it is essential to the success of this project. And in order to see best results, right? Because you care a lot about your clients. You want them to get the best freaking results. So you having this boundary in place and being firm about it isn't just for you. Yeah, it's nice to get the reply back and it is super helpful on your end, but it's also essential in the success of their experience, in the quality of their experience. Them being able to reply within 24 hours, say, and have that clear communication is essential in keeping this project on time. Be very firm and straight to the point about it. You're looking out for their best interest. And you're looking out for what's going to make the experience all that much better for them. And then another important thing you could do too is ask them a question about if they can actually commit to that or not. Ask them upfront, can you commit to that? Because that is something that is required for this container. Ask them if they can commit to that and say it's a date. Maybe you need something by a certain day or whatever to keep things on track. State the date firm and ask them if they can commit to that, point blank. And then they are held responsible and they have a firm date. There's no reading between the lines here. There's no stressing about if they actually understood, because they will tell you up front, yes or no, if they can handle it. And there you go. Problem solved. And if that sounds like a shock, if it sounds scary, good, because it'll push you out of your comfort zone. But honestly, it feels so liberating to finally stand up for what you need. And you kind of just feel like a bad bitch, to be honest. And you are coming from that desire of them having a great experience. So it really is a win-win for everyone there. Here's another thing too. Sometimes we have tricky clients and maybe we have these boundaries that come up as we go. Like I said, every single thing in my contract essentially is from a past client that I've learned from and taken that as a win kind of thing. Even if they were crappy, I've taken that and learned from it. So say you're in that experience currently and maybe you are having something come up that's like, oh, I really need this, but I didn't really state it in the contract. And you're like, how do I set this boundary? Even though it wasn't really necessarily in the outline that I provided, but it's something that I really need. If you truly need something in order for your client to see best results or to see success for this project, it is in your absolute integrity to share that with them. You want them to have the best experience and they want to have the best experience. If they aren't aware of what you actually need, it's your responsibility to share it with them. They're not a mind reader like we've talked about with this people-pleasing stuff. You're the expert. They hired you because of your expertise in this area. They don't know what they need in order to have really amazing copy for their website. They don't know what they need to give you in order to create the best mood board for your brand photo shoot. They don't know these things unless you tell them. So if there's something that you've left unspoken and you didn't put in the contract, but it's actually pretty important, and now that you've actually gone through with the client, it's come up and you've been like, oh, I really need that. You need to tell them. It's okay to stand up and tell people what you need from them. I know it's hard as a people pleaser. You just want people to like you, but you are allowed to ask for your needs to be met, whether that's in a personal relationship, in your life, or in your business. Okay? Boom. Okay. Something that I like to call pre-boundaries are super important in just calling in the right people, because Your absolute dream clients and your BFF clients and the people that you are obsessed with working with, who will likely come back again and again, will not break your boundaries. And it won't feel so icky. And I think that the key to navigating boundaries is, first of all, calling in the right people in the first place. To avoid these sticky situations, you avoid calling in the wrong people. That's the easiest way to go about it. While setting boundaries while you're already in it or maybe navigating a tricky situation is important, it's a hell of a lot easier if you just avoid that to begin with and you call in the right people from the start. The way to call in the right people, there are so many ways, and this is something I talk about a lot on my Instagram and in my content, but a huge theme of this too is just being super upfront and clear about your values. What do you and do you not stand for? Share your personality online and the process that you go through. If you're someone who's super big on authenticity, you share it all the time and it's like a core pillar of your business. If you don't talk about that, then you're going to call in people who maybe don't align with that. And then your boundaries are going to get crossed left, right, and center because you haven't been clear about what it is that you expect from your people or what it is that you bring to this process or this container or this project before they book with you. So when they book with you, then they're surprised as to who you are. So that's why it's so important to really be upfront with who you are, be your authentic self online, and really share what you do and do not stand for. That's how you're going to call in the people that you want to work with and who want to work with you. They will align with these things and reach out to you wanting to work together. If you preach something very confidently and very often on your stories and on your Instagram and in your content, and it's really intertwined with everything that you do and what you present, you're likely not going to call in a lot of people who totally misalign with that. So that is the key here. If you don't want to have these sticky situations, and mind you, they still will happen a little bit, but for the most of it, if you're calling in the right people, you don't really have to deal with those sticky situations because you're already calling in people who are just obsessed with who you are and who totally align with you. So another point here that's super important to consider is you want to speak to the people who are already your dream clients, not the people who aren't. And this is super key in calling them into you because in your messaging, it is so important that you're super clear about what you expect from people and what kind of person you're calling in. Maybe you're saying something like, oh, like I know it's really hard to invest. I know it's really expensive, but trust me, it's worth it. You're doing that in your content. You're likely not speaking to the people who are super self-motivated, excited, already ready to invest with you, already see the ROI in working with you. You're not really talking to them if you're trying to convince people in your content that they should spend the money on you. You're talking to people who need convincing. How can we shift your messaging and really start tweaking your content to speak to the people who are already excited about what you have to offer, who already see the ROI and who are confident in you, not the people who need convincing still. I feel like that's super important to remember because these subtle tweaks are key, but also super easy to mess up in a way, if that makes sense. Because a lot of the time we say, oh, if you're interested, reach out. It's almost like, oh, like reach out, I guess, like if you want to. That's not a very confident vibe. Like that's not calling in the people who are super excited. Call them out, be like, I see you looking at my stories every day and thinking, wow, that's a really cool offer. I know you're ready for this. DM me to get inside. Boom. That's the confidence we want to talk with, okay? That's how we speak to the people who already see the value. Or say you keep calling in people who just kind of want a quick fix. They're not really willing to put in a lot of the work. But then in your content, you're doing the same thing. You're giving them surface level things. You're telling them maybe why your service is important, but you're not explaining their personal attributes. So instead of saying, oh yeah, you need this, this is why this is so easy for you, but then you call in people who are just looking for the quick fix and only interested in the end result, maybe start speaking to the freaking amazing experience that you have with them. That's how you're going to call in the right people. If you keep getting surface level people, stop saying surface level shit. Start digging deep and speaking to what you actually mean to say instead of looking outside of yourself and just saying what other people are already saying. You got me? I feel like this kind of veered away from the point, but it doesn't matter. This is just how my mind is flowing, so it's all good. Let's circle back to the whole people-pleasing vibe that we were following at the beginning of this episode. Okay. So I really wanted to chat about this because I feel like boundaries are such a tough thing to navigate when you are figuring out your business, because it is already hard enough in your personal life, and it just makes it all that more difficult in your business, because a lot of the time we can feel like our worth or our value or our success is tied to our business outcome and the amount of money we're making and the client results that they're seeing, all that stuff. So it's really hard to let go of that attachment to the success of our business and how that relates to our worth as a person. So I totally get it. I know it's a difficult thing to navigate. And I think that's why it's all that more important to just keep having these conversations about it, because setting boundaries does not make you an asshole. You don't have to be rude about it. It is actually for the benefit of not only yourself, but of your clients. I know you are super passionate about what you do, about helping your people. That's why you're in this business. You care about the results. You care about their lives. You're excited and passionate about this. You have the best intentions, and I feel the exact same way. And I think that's why, whether you're a people pleaser, you identify with that or not, that's why you almost let these boundaries slide sometimes, because you just want other people to be happy. You just want them to have a great experience. You just want this business to be successful, and you think, oh, it's okay if I just sacrifice this one time. And maybe it's not even like a conscious thought. You default to that, because that's how I feel sometimes too. I know ultimately that I need my needs to be met, that my desires, my values, all that stuff is important, just as other people's are. But that doesn't mean that sometimes I don't make decisions that put mine to the side and that value other people's opinions, thoughts, values, needs, desires, whatever, over my own. So it is a process. I think that it just takes a lot of time and reflection and actually identifying when this is coming up. And that's why I really wanted to touch on those indicators that I feel like come up a lot of the time when I'm lacking those boundaries and when I tend to be people pleasing a lot. That's just so important to be able to recognize those things. So maybe what you can do is make a little list of your own of things that tend to come up for you when you're feeling like maybe it's a result of lacking these boundaries. When you feel these things, that's how you know it's time to really get on it. And then you know that you can look out for these things and what the root actually is. So if you related to any of this, if you feel like you're kind of on that side of being a people pleaser and it is tough sometimes navigating boundaries in your life, in your business, and having all those feelings, maybe I said a couple things here that you're like, oh shit, yeah, that's totally me too. I am here with you. I'm holding you in that. I totally feel you. And this is something that we're going to have to work on all the time. It is not a quick snap of the fingers and it's done. So if you did identify with this, please send me a message on Instagram at Hollgraphics, HOLLGRAFIX. I am on there every single day. Prepare to be sick of me, okay? I love it on Instagram and I just love chatting with you. Honestly, this community means everything to me. You are freaking amazing, and it's just so insane in the best way how loyal of a community you can build online just through a screen. I mean, I just feel so thankful, and this is why I show up every single day, is because of you. So I just really appreciate you. If there's anything that you would like me to start chatting about on here, I mean, really, the mic is open to anything. I'm just here for real, authentic conversations, whether it be about business or the process of being an entrepreneur or just life in general and trying to figure shit out. That's what this is all for. So I'm just super excited that you're here with me and that you're here to witness these conversations and to be engaged with them as well. Please send me a message if you want to keep the conversation going. And if any of this really hit home for you, I'm so excited to start chatting with you about this. And if there's anything that you want to talk about, or if you want to come on the pod, I am so down for that. I definitely want to have guests in the near future. Once I kind of like get this ball rolling in this and I really get the hang of everything, I'm just super excited for the future. And I just want you to know that you and your values and your wants and your needs are so valid, and you deserve to choose those, even if it pisses some people off and even if it makes you have to put other people's wishes aside. You need to live the life that makes you happy and that brings you peace and happiness and fulfillment. So never sacrifice that just to make somebody else happy. F that and do whatever the hell makes you happy, okay? I love you so much, and I can't wait to have you listen in on all of my other episodes. I appreciate you, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye!